Hey guys, sorry that I'm recording this so late and I'll be posting it even later by the time I'm done with it. But I figure by now you guys are pretty well aware of what my life is like and that the time that I get to record is pretty limited and when I can. I did try to record this video earlier and I kept getting interrupted by pets, by a number of things, and then she came down early, so I didn't get the chance to get it done beforehand. Otherwise, this would have gone up much earlier. So I wanted to take you guys through basically my experience of what it was like to become a court reporter. My journey started much earlier than I never went into becoming a notary with the plan to become a court reporter. I was just looking to become a notary to pick up some extra work here and there to try to fill a gap in my income because my hours were being reduced. And when you go in to become a notary, you can also, there is a national agency called the NNA, National Notary Association. And you can get you're registering as a notary. You have to do that individually with the state and get everything notarized by your town clerk, filed, registered that way. But generally when it comes to ordering the essentials like your stamp, any supplies you may need to do notarizations, typically you do that through the National Notary Association or the NNA. They also provide courses that you can take for learning the essentials of what to do to be a notary and things of that nature. So in general, I was just looking for a way to make up income loss. Didn't work out for me like I'd hoped, at least was initially, but when I knew that I was also going to be losing my job, I was like, let me just look up and try to find what kind of jobs I can do with a notary. And I was looking for, there are services that you can work with to get aligned to notary jobs and things of that nature. Sorry, my throat is kind of, it's like I have a frog in my throat or something today. I blame allergies. But I knew you could work at a bank. I didn't want to work at a bank. I knew you could work for a place like the post office or FedEx or UPS. I didn't want to do that either. I wanted something that would give me a bit more flexibility if I could manage it. Be able to set my own schedule kind of thing. And then I found a job posting for a digital court reporter. I was like, this looks interesting. Let me just apply, see what happens. Worst case scenario, they tell me no. So I applied, and I'm not going to name the company that I'm doing some work for, only because I'm not trying to gatekeep, but there are many companies like this on a national scale. The one that I aligned with they walked me through the process of enrolling in the course to learn how to become a digital court reporter. After I finished the course and I passed the course, I then went on to take the exam. Again, there is more than one accrediting agency. I happened to get mine through AAERT, and that was an experience. If you happen to go down this path, when you order the exam, just to forewarn you, they give you the option to do a practice exam. The practice exam is not anything. It's nothing like you would envision like a practice exam to be. It is like 5 questions and nothing has to do with court reporting. It was ridiculous. I was like, so I got all prepared and ready and studied to do the practice exam before I take the actual exam, because you have to pass with at least an 80% in order to become credentialed. So I was nervous and I was like, let me do the practice exam. It is proctored. They monitor you. You can do it from your home. But basically they monitor you. You'll see that your video camera turn on. They'll watch you. And they also are able to watch your screen to make sure that you're not cheating. And they insist on looking at the desk, making sure that you have nothing hiding, that, you could be hiding answers to anything. They insist you put your phone a distance away, all of that kind of stuff. It is a real proctored exam. So you can't look up anything, you can't hide notes or anything of that nature. But in everything, I passed, thankfully, the first time. Then you have to register as a professional. And then with the particular company that I'm doing work with, I then had a course to take with them to see how to use the equipment they had me order, which was not inexpensive. I will warn you, if you go down this path, especially as an independent contractor, expect to spend anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 to go through the entire process and get everything you need. It takes an investment. But the company and it's not this way for every place. If you were to go work for a judicial branch, they may have different credentialing things, and typically, at least where I am, there are a number of judicial branches that offer a paid internship where you are paid a pretty good salary, and they will train you how to become a court reporter, because the industry is desperate for court reporters on a global scale. A lot of the schools that existed to teach court reporting and stenography and all of those types of services have been closed. It can be very challenging to find schools that teach it local to you anymore. So because of that, the entire industry is changing. I am not a stenographic court reporter. I also do not handle the legal transcription of the proceeding. What happens is I go in, I record with microphones everything that happens and everything that's said in the room. And I take notes and I record speaker changes, things of that nature, in order to help the transcript team, when they get the audio, navigate which microphone is assigned to which person. Then there is the additional information that helps them navigate who is speaking when. Your notes help them understand who's saying what. You have to record verified spelling, so anything that's a proper noun, like a company name, businesses, people's names, street names, addresses, all of that kind of stuff. You have to make sure you verify all of that by the end. You have to ask who wants transcript orders and things of that nature at the end as well. I have done both remote proceedings and in-person proceedings. When it comes to proceedings so far that I have personally preferred, I've done a bit of a variety, but not a huge variety, so keep in mind I'm still speaking from a limited experience. I have handled certain types of hearings involving protected persons, which I will not talk about the specifics about in any way, make, shape, or form. I won't even say what departments I was doing these hearings for, these depositions for. Some have been state agencies, some have been local groups, law firms. I've done a number of things at this point. So I've spoken before that depositions can vary. And no two depositions are the same. It was actually kind of funny because when I was shadowing, I was shadowing a court reporter out of New York, because there aren't a lot of people, I guess, in my state quite yet, because the company's kind of somewhat new to my state. So they're working on expanding and bringing on more court reporters. But with that, so I was shadowing somebody out of New York for this particular one. And it actually made me chuckle because these attorneys were very nice. Very, very nice. They're like, they have to be aware that I'm there shadowing when this happens, by the way. And I'll never forget, I'm not saying names or anything, and this had nothing to do with the case, and they were just having a nice banter between them. It was very nice to see counsel on opposing sides just be very friendly with each other and laughing and joking and all that stuff. And one of them had said, but at some point you'll get bored of all of these things. I'm like, I don't know. Each case kind of has its own nuanced things to keep my attention. And he started laughing. He said to the other attorney, you remember when we were that naive? It was funny. But yeah. So sometimes your shadowing can be within the state that you're in. Sometimes it'll be outside this. But again, it depends on the agency you're working for. If they're having you do remote proceedings, if they're having you do in-person proceedings, all of that kind of stuff. It really depends on the company. So with this company that I'm doing work for, in general, I've had a pretty large diversity in either shadowing or being the court reporter present in a variety of cases. I will say that it can be a high pressure situation. When you are in the room, you are a neutral third party, so you cannot show favoritism to either side. You cannot do anything of that nature where it looks like you are showing preferential treatment at all. You are there to record the proceeding. You are not allowed to edit. You are not allowed to take anything out. You are not allowed to do anything that, they don't want you to do. I do handle exhibits. I make sure that the full transcript is recorded, basically. And then I send it to the company and they delegate a transcriptionist to transcribe it. So, long story short, as a somewhat new court reporter who has been doing this less than 2 months, but I guess I'm doing okay so far. I've made mistakes, of course, along the way, but that's to be expected. And even they have told me to stop being so hard on myself. So that should tell you something. When you are in the room, if things start to get heated, it is up to the court reporter to kind of nip it in the bud, remind people that people have to speak one person at a time, that in order for things to be accurately recorded for the transcript, there can't be a lot of yelling or what they call crosstalk, where multiple people are talking at the same time. That can't happen. If it starts to happen, you gotta nip it in the bud. In a weird way, when you are a court reporter on assignment, and it's just you, attorneys, witnesses in a room, even though you are not a judge, you kind of have the duty like a judge does, that if things start to get out of control, you're the one to lay down the law, in a way. It's a weird dynamic, but it's your responsibility in order to ensure that the record is accurately obtained. I have had attorneys who have been very good at advocating for me as the court reporter, in the sense that if a witness has been interrupting them or whatnot, I've had them, without me having to jump in, remind them that, to let them finish speaking and then they can answer, in order to accurately capture everything. But then again, I've had attorneys who weren't so nice. And this is the part where I will mainly be, especially to any lawyers who may watch this, is a help me help you. I'm advocating on behalf of court reporters everywhere. So, if you are hiring a court reporter through an agency, fundamental things that will help us ensure that we can start on time. If you are in a remote proceeding, please show up 5 to 10 minutes early. Because as much as you may think that if you have given us a notice, by the way, and please, please, always give us a notice. That helps us make sure that we are as prepared as humanly possible. We know and we understand sometimes there are surprise people who show up. Maybe you didn't even know that these people were going to be in the room at the time. So yes, I will need a couple minutes to add those people in to the software as well, because every single person in that room has to be recorded. Their name, how it's spelled, who they are to the proceeding, their role, all of it. Additionally, in a remote proceeding, there are a number of factors that we need to fill in before we can proceed. I need the address of the witness or witnesses. I need there's information that I need before we can just jump in and do it. And I can't start until I have that information. If this is a proceeding that does not have a docket number, I need some kind of file number, something, to be able to put in that case number section. I need to know the venue. What's the judicial branch district, if there is one? I've already addressed, I need addresses, contact information, phone number, email address. I need to know whether somebody being deposed is pro se. I need, if you don't provide me the opposing counsel's information, I need to get that before everything starts. So this is where I say, if you jump on the link 5 to 10 minutes early so I can get all of that information, we can start right on time. Help me, help you. I can't do that if you jump on right as it's supposed to start, or even worse, late. Please know I, like everybody, we understand things happen. Sometimes you get called into something, you get stuck on a phone call, you get stuck in traffic. We understand these things happen. I'm just saying, it helps. As much information as you can give us to start with, we'll make sure that we can start on time. And hopping in 5 to 10 minutes early helps with that. I've had one attorney who I've done depositions for a number of times at this point. The funny thing is hi, how you doing today? But he's great. He jumps on 15 minutes early, and if the notice hasn't provided me all the information that I need, I ask him that information while he's there. As long as somebody's got it, that's what I need. Let's see, what else is there? If I ask you for information, it is because it is necessary for the transcript. I'm not asking to be intrusive. I'm not asking to be invasive. I remember I asked one attorney their office address. They're like, I'll give it to you later. Then they never did. Thankfully, I knew their law firm and I was able to look it up myself. But that will not be happening again, because all it takes is one experience to go burn me once, and that's not going to happen again. For in-person proceedings, and even remote proceedings, whether you are the hiring attorney or not, as I've said before, I'm a neutral third party. I have to, at all times, uphold and maintain confidentiality. You could have, say the other attorney isn't even in the room, even if they hired me. If you were talking to your client and I was in the room and I overhear the conversation, I cannot say a single word. I can't. I have to uphold confidentiality. I cannot show it, especially if it's something that's not being recorded on the transcript. And I promise you, if you're having those, I think it's called ex parte communications, I'm not really listening to you either. Anyway, because I'm not there to spy on anybody. I'm just there to do one thing. When we are on the record, record for the transcript. Whether it's remote or in person, please know that I have to show up early, especially for an in-person proceeding. I have to show up very early. I am trying to get faster. I am trying to get my timing down for setup to be faster than I have it right now. But again, I've not been going in person all that long, so I try to give myself around 90 minutes before the proceeding starts. And the reason why I do that is because I have to, before I can even start setting anything up, look at the room, assess the acoustics of the room, figure out where I'm sitting, where I'm plugging things up. I have a lot of equipment to set up. If I'm showing up to your office 90 minutes before the proceeding starts and that room is not occupied, please don't keep me in the waiting room until 30 minutes before things are supposed to start. Because then I have to contact the company and let them know that if anybody complains that this didn't start on time, this is the reason why. Can you tell that's happened at least once? Please give us the freaking Wi-Fi password. We need the Wi-Fi password to run the software. I would really like to stop using my phone as a hotspot just to be able to do my job. Because here's the problem. Especially in spaces where the connectivity isn't very good on your cell phone, when you're using it as a hotspot, it can cause the software to glitch and freeze and do all kinds of weird stuff. But I've had a few cases by now, and especially I've noticed, especially with some of the state agencies, they don't like to give you a password to the Wi-Fi. But I also had it happen in the same attorney's office that I mentioned, kept me in the waiting room till a half an hour before. I understood he wanted to talk to his client first. That's fine. But they weren't even in the room that we were doing the deposition. So it felt like that was done intentionally just to, I don't know. I could be wrong in interpreting things incorrectly, but it takes a long time to set things up. And if I'm not given enough time, I don't have enough time to tape the wires up out of the way, so people run the risk of tripping over things. If I'm not given the amount of time that I need to properly set things up, it causes all of us issues. But yeah, the Wi-Fi password is a bit of a necessity. I did feel bad for one of the state agencies that I did a deposition for. They did try to get it for me, but IT didn't respond in time. They tried. But again, I had to use my phone as a hotspot, and of course at one point the software froze. Thankfully it kept recording. It's just all of a sudden I wasn't able to type anything because the switching, the speaker changes and everything was side froze for a couple of moments. Yeah, basically, I think that's a pretty good starting point. It's just no matter who hires us, we're just there to record everything on the record. We don't care what you're talking about when it's off the record. Believe it or not, we really like it, at least for my own sake. I like it when everybody's relaxed and they can have a bit of a banter and, joke around with each other and not take the job so seriously that it's like I have to be nasty and mean to each other. That doesn't make for a pleasant experience for anybody. It was actually funny because my first in-person was with the attorney that I said is good about showing up early. He was the hiring attorney. And the place I showed up, as soon as I walked in the door and I explained why I was there, they're like, "Oh, come in." I'm like, "May I have the Wi-Fi here?" "Oh, yeah, sure. Would you like some water, some coffee, some tea? I'll get it for you." And this was the opposing counsel who came in being very nice, very welcoming. He knew I was just there to do a job. So yeah. We are your friendly neighborhood court reporters. Okay? Please be kind to us so that we can do our jobs and do exactly what we were hired to do. That's all we ask. Especially those of us who are now not doing things stenographically and we're having to type things out. So, yeah, be prepared. We have recording devices, computer, electric stuff out the wazoo that we have to set up. And all of it is only to record the on-record aspects of everything. So with that, and also, if anything is captured, by the way, that isn't meant to be part of the final transcript, just say that. The transcription team will omit it. Okay? So, thanks for listening, guys. I hope everyone has a great night, and I will be back next week with a new video. And I have videos that I had already been working on recording and then scrapped. I think that was for a reason, but I think I already know what my next video will be about. But we'll see what the week brings. Alright? Take care, guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below. I will try to answer as much as I can. And I have one question before I go. If anybody has any shoulder exercises, my gear is heavy and it's been pulling on the shoulder. feel free to let me know down below. Alright. Take care, guys. I will see you in some hours with a new video, a short anyway. Good night.